you ever considered that we are living in a unique time, that something world-changing is about to happen, and that it might concern you? If so, you're in the right place. Keep listening, and you'll hear thought-provoking views behind the news that point to a new and better future for all. Many people now sense that humanity is not alone. So consider this. If the Christ or the Buddha walked among us today as modern men, would we recognize them? What would they be saying? And most importantly, would we listen? Every Sunday on this program, Share International Radio, we'll examine extraordinary events that are unfolding behind the headline news. This may be the message of hope you've been waiting for. And now, welcome to this week's show.
Diana Gold Holland, speaking to you from beautiful Vancouver, where it's a sunny day today. And I am most pleased to welcome my colleague, David Mynott II, to talk today about transmission meditation. Now, this program is going to be a little bit different because both David and I are long-term meditators, and so it won't be the regular question and answer formula. It'll be more like an introduction to transmission, sort of like TMNA, Transmission for a New Age 101. Let me tell you about a little bit about David, though, to begin with. He is an artist and environmentalist who's been a student of the esoteric wisdom for a good part of his life, and also a Share International volunteer. He has lectured, written, and presented on the subject of the imminent emergence of the world teacher Maitreya and his group, the Masters of Wisdom. And David is a long-term practitioner of transmission meditation since 2001, as a matter of fact. And he is an active member of the New England regional group of Share International. He is located in Boston. So just to get a couple of things out of the way, I want to give you the show premises, which some of you have heard many times, but here you have it. Share International Radio North America, Share on the Air, Radio North America, purports that we are not alone at this very difficult time of transmission for Mother Earth, that we have with us great teachers emerging now onto the world scene, and that at their head is Maitreya, a teacher of all the teachers. And you can find out more about that by going to the website Share, S-H-A-R-E, as in sharing, share-international.org. Everything is there for you. And we present this information as very, very happy about the outreach of modern radio technology. So if anything you hear today has the ring of truth for you, please share it by all means, and go and find out more, share-international.org. And without any further ado, let me welcome David. Hi, David.
Well, hello, Diana. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you. It's an honor for the show to have you. So let's get right down to it. We have new listeners today who I invite to just listen. As I mentioned, this is Transmission and Meditation for the New Age 101. Everything that you need will be posted on our Facebook page. And also there are a couple of websites that you can visit, one of them being transmissionmeditation.org, which will give you everything you need to know. So sit back, enjoy, and let's have our conversation with David. David, tell us, what is transmission meditation?
Well, I guess at its base, you could call it a form of transfer or transmission of energy. These energies, what energies are we talking about? Well, the Masters of Wisdom, Maitreya, who the show is about, they're, I guess you could say, the custodians or responsible for these great cosmic energies that stream into the planet. And so they try to keep it simple for us. And what they do is use us to help step down the energies and have it go out into the world. So that's what it is. It's a transference of energy that helps out both the recipient and the entire world.
So what energies are we talking about?
Well, some of these are energies that are even more advanced and above the masters. Light and love and power and peace and equilibrium, even energies that just help the lower kingdoms, plant, mineral, animal, and help humanity. Sort of that pool of spiritual energy that all of humanity draws from, knowingly or not, on a daily basis.
Okay. That's pretty heavy. Those are great energies, and very much in line with the beginning now of the age of Aquarius. These are the energies we need to actually build this new civilization. I want to go back just for a second, though, to you mentioned that the masters step down these energies. What's that all about, this stepping down?
Well, these energies are coming from the higher planes, planes of the soul, and there's a whole bunch of other names, but I don't want to get too far in the weeds with that. And these energies are of such a high vibrational energy, Diana, that they bounce off the mass of humanity. Well, they bounce off of me anyways, I can tell you. So they have to step down the energies, much like a transformer does. The power that's coming in to your house from the power lines outside, it would blow out all your fuses if it came in at full strength. So a transformer steps down the energies so your house can absorb them. The masters step down these energies so humanity can absorb them, and in turn the lower kingdoms.
So it's kind of like a battery, right?
Yes.
So, we're not directly in line with the big transformers, but the battery steps down that energy so that it's usable in our light bulbs and what have you.
Exactly, though. The light bulb of your brain and soul, so to speak. And then passes through you down into the animal kingdom, and then in turn to the plant, and then in turn to the mineral kingdom. All this is done unconsciously.
Okay. But the other aspect that we want to bring forward about transmission is that it's a group activity. It's not energy that's stepped down through me in particular, or you or anyone in particular, but really in the group formation behind it. Let's address that.
Yes, you're right. That is most important. This is a form of group world service, and so in that sense, it's a combination of two different types of yoga: karma yoga, the yoga of service, and laya yoga, the yoga of the chakras. And when we do transmission meditation, it is in a group of 3 people or more, hopefully. It's most effective that way. And in that sense, yes, Diana, it's in line with and reflective of the energies of and the age of Aquarius.
Okay, well, there's been a very great interest in meditation, I think, since, maybe back in the Beatles days, where, a lot of these gurus were coming over from the East and people were getting interested in meditation. But that was very much couched in terms of personal development, that you could forward your personal spiritual journey, and that's why you meditated. How is transmission different on that score?
That's a good point, and I'm glad you brought that up, because what the Maharishi Yogi, I think his name was talking to the world and to the Beatles about was transcendental meditation, which is more of a personal meditation. This transmission meditation is not only a group meditation for more than one person, it's a world service. It's an opportunity to serve par excellence, as our friend Ben Krem, the editor for Share International magazine and the writer of so many books on the Masters, had put it. And it's a indication, it's a dead giveaway that the person has developed to the point where, after, thousands of lifetimes, they have a desire to do service for humanity. And then they find themselves drawn towards meditation. And in this case, particularly transmission meditation.
Okay, so as I understand it, though, the emphasis on transmission meditation is not on personal spiritual development, but that does actually occur. It's impossible to have these energies of light, love, synthesis, and what have you that come through transmission meditation. It is impossible to have these energies stream through our chakras without dynamically refining the chakras. And I just want to make this one point that Benjamin Creme has made, that he says that in 1 year of correctly conducted transmission meditation, you can have the same value or spiritual advancement of 20 years of regular personal meditation.
That's correct. And isn't that marvelous? Yes, that's absolutely true. That it's a world service. Oh, and by the way, it just so happens that in the process of doing that, your own chakras are enhanced, and the vehicles, the physical, emotional, mental, they all benefit.
They all benefit, absolutely. And you know what, David, both of you and I have been long-term practitioners of transmission. And, you know, when it comes down to the bottom line, to me, what's just so absolutely fantabulous about transmission meditation is that it is an opportunity to work directly with the Masters of Wisdom and Maitreya in bringing forward these energies, and to, you know, that is such a gift, and it's such a simple way to do it. When we come back, we'll be talking about a free book you can download on meditation, on transmission with Benjamin Creme, and continuing our discussion on what happens during transmission. Talk to you on the other side of the break.
Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
Now there's a book about UFOs that stands out. British author Benjamin Creme has worked directly with the Space Brothers and writes about their spiritual mission in The Gathering of the Forces of Light, a truly inspiring book. Visit shareontheairradio.org for details. That's shareontheairradio.org. shareontheairradio.org.
Evolution is where sexuality and spirituality meets. Join me, clinical sexologist Martha Tara Lee, on Eros Evolution on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Come heal yourself. What is healing? Healing is nothing but connecting with your all-knowing higher self that already has solutions to all your problems and is always there to guide you. Through this show, we help you to connect with that you are and tap into that innate potential you have to transform your life and fly high. Please join me, your host Monica Goyal, every Sunday, 7 p.m. Pacific. Namaste.
The cutting edge of conscious radio. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
Welcome back to our audience. This is Diana Gold Holland, and I'm with our guest David Mynott today, talking about transmission meditation. That's transmission and meditation for the new age. And before we go any further, I want to alert you to the fact that you can download Benjamin Krem's book on transmission. Just go to the resources and book page of share hyphen, that's share, as in sharing, share-international.org, and look up under resources the books page, and there you will find not only transmission, but actually 4 books that you can download free on Maitreya, the world teacher for this new age, and his mission now, which is basically to help us come through this transition from Mother Earth now and establish a society, a civilization, a planetary family where every single person has food, shelter, health care, and education. These are Maitreya's priorities. And unfortunately, not one single country yet has managed, despite all of our advancements, to procure those basic, very basic needs of every person. Maitreya and his group of world servers and masters are coming out into the world now and will be invited to address us and just pass along their message. So there we have it: food, shelter, education, and health care for every person. Now, concurrent to the establishment of those needs on the physical plane, Maitreya and the Masters are offering us an opportunity to work directly with them to bring in the mental plane energies that can help transform our world. And we can do that through a practice called transmission meditation. Once again, I advise you to check out the free download of the book. And let's return to our guest, David Mynott, and we'll talk about what happens during a transmission meditation session. David.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I think I'll preface that with saying that this practice does not interfere with other spiritual practices. In fact, it really complements them. And I think that's probably important for people to keep in mind if they come from different disciplines and not sure if they want to try that. So when we're doing this, we have at least 3 people, hopefully more, because it works better through a triangle, which would be another long explanation we won't get into now. And all should have a desire to serve and be willing to sit together for 1 to we usually start at about 1 hour, and then some groups go several hours. And what we do...
just a sec. Like some people who are not used to meditating might think that 1 hour is a very long time.
Yes, that's true. So when I started, when we did our first sample, Diana, we just did like 15 minutes.
Right. But the fact of the matter is that the energies, once connected, the energies do flow, and people are invited to keep participating as long as that flow is sensed.
That's correct. And the masters know what each group can handle and which individual in the group can handle. And they'll only send through those energies and those types of energies that the group can safely process. As the group gets more advanced, the energies get more advanced, strengthened. So we begin with the great invocation, which was given to humanity by Maitreya at the close of World War II. And Diana, should we just leave it to the listeners to look up the great invocation?
Right. They can look it up, and we will certainly post a link to it on our Facebook page. And I take this opportunity to invite people to go to our Facebook page. There is a gold mine of information and literal goodies on our Facebook page, so please check that out. And we will make sure that a link to the Great Invocation is posted. The Great Invocation is exactly that. It's an invocation. It is a sign to the masters that a group is now assembled and ready to transmit those energies. It's like the, ringing a door buzzer or something like that, right?
Yes, exactly. We're here.
We're here and we're ready with the great invocation, and then the masters connect to the group, and the flow of energies begins at that point. Now, David, I just want to do people actually. Do people feel I know several people in our group, for example, that say, no, I just sit through the whole process and that's it. But there can be various sensations or whatnot, right?
Yes, people often feel a sensation in the head region, because when we do the great invocation, afterwards, we're asked to focus on the ajna center between the eyebrows. And it's important, too, not to get that confused with the concept of the third eye, because that's what everybody seems to think. The ajna center is associated with the pituitary gland, while the so-called third eye is associated with the pineal gland. And it's my understanding that over time, and probably through the process of transmission meditation, done time and time and time again, a relationship develops between the two, between the pituitary gland and the pineal gland, and then you have the third eye. But bypassing that for the moment, that's what we focus on. And what will happen is your attention will often drop from the ajna center between the eyebrows back down to the seat of consciousness for most of humanity, the focus for most of humanity, down in your belly, what do we call that again?
The solar plexus.
The solar plexus, yes.
So that's when all of a sudden you figure, oh, what's my grocery list? I got to pick up milk on the way home, and what was so-and-so talking about when they gave me that dirty look, or like whatever, right? You get into all those kind of ruminating type things. But when you notice that happening, what do you do, David?
Well, what Ben instructs us to do is to say Om silently inwardly, and that pulls the attention back up to the ajna center. You want to say it silently, because if you say it verbally, it grounds the energy. And we don't want it grounded, we want it uplifted to the ajna center, which is more on the mental plane, and the solar plexus being more the emotional astral plane.
Right, and if everybody sounded the Om aloud every time their attention drifted, we'd have a choir of Oms, right, every time there's a transmission meeting. Yes. Anyways, so that the idea is to maintain the focus at the ajna center, which is the center of purpose in for those who are familiar with the chakra system, and then the energy flows from there. Now, we want to make a point, David, that this is a highly scientific process, that there are no channelings or special messages from the masters or anything like that going on. Let's make that very clear.
Yes, because Ben has reported, I often like to relate his funny story of someone telling him, reporting back about their group, saying, oh, we had a wonderful transmission meditation session the other night. The masters were there, and they gave us this illuminating lesson. And Ben's reply was, well, I don't know what those people are doing, but it's not transmission meditation. There's no channeling of energy. Channeling, by the way, that happens more on the astral plane, and transmission meditation is done more on the soul plane, but that's something else the readers can research.
Okay. Well, that notwithstanding, there are certain counterindications. Who should not be doing transmission?
Yes. Children under 12 should not, and only because the chakra centers have not been well developed enough to handle the energies. And also people that have had heart problems or who have suffered or are suffering from mental illness, the energies can be a little too intense, a little too much.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But the procedure is basically fairly simple. I mean, there's not a lot of lighting incense and sitting in various positions and all that kind of thing.
Very unpleasant.
Yeah.
And they ask you, I know this isn't always possible, folks, but Ben has asked, too, that you remove pets from the room. If you can, because they also can't handle the energies. And the masters end up wasting energy shielding the animals in the room from the energy. That I have heard before, but I don't think we've mentioned that before.
Oh, good point. I didn't remember that. Yeah, you're right. You're right. So what are some of the effects that people report, David?
Well, from doing transmission meditation for a period of time, you can end up feeling calmer, more creative, with a greater ability to express the, quote, love nature, quote unquote, as it has been termed. And as Krishnamurti would say, in his gruff manner, that we're not talking about the absurd things that go on in the name of passion in the world. We're talking about real love, the energy that binds the atoms of matter together, the unconditional acceptance of others, and the desire to serve the world. All these things are strengthened by transmission meditation, and some interesting side effects too, Diana, which you've probably heard of, that, and this is true also other forms of meditation, particularly transmission meditation, they've even claimed, incidentally, that perhaps it helps the neighborhood, the surrounding houses and apartments. May even help to lower the crime area in an area where meditation is regularly practiced because it radiates out.
Which is fantastic. And just as we go to break, I want to mention 2 points again. One was the definition of love that you gave, that Benjamin Crabb has given, in case we just went too quickly over that. Love being the cement that binds the atoms of our reality. And we'll go into the sound of the Om just as we come back on the other side of the break. And once again, instructions how to do this. Yeah.
Free your mind with OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
Want to help build the coming golden age? Want to experience the Aquarian energies of love, light, and power? Transmission meditation is a simple way for you and 2 or more friends to do just that and accelerate your own spiritual growth at the same time. Check out transmission meditation at shareontheairradio.org. That's shareontheairradio.org.
Have you been searching for a perspective beyond the mainstream? Check it out. Join your hosts Cielito Pascual and Diana Gold Holland on Share International Radio for thought-provoking views behind the news, Sundays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio. You can also find us at shareontheairradio.org. This may be the message of hope you've been waiting for.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
What if living didn't have to be so serious?
What if you could move beyond your problems with greater confidence and ease than you've ever imagined?
Throw your labels out the window and join the Irreverent Therapist for practical tips and a very different way of approaching the changes you would like to create.
Marilyn Bradford
and Pam Hodling
have empowered hundreds of people to come out of self-judgment, quit looking to experts, and begin to create the lives they desire.
Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Irreverent Therapist Show.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Well, we're back, folks. This is David Mynott, the guest, who's also one of the co-producers of the show, just waiting for Diana to return to pepper me with more questions about transmission meditation.
Maybe if she turned her microphone on.
And there she is. I knew you were there.
I don't know why I get caught up on that one. I just made a lovely segue back into our conversation, and the only person who heard it was me.
I would have loved to have heard that.
Okay, well, I was just saying, let's get down to the nitty-gritty of it. Let's tell people exactly how to form a group and, do a transmission meditation.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's time. Well, what you can do is get a hold of like-minded people who you know are interested in doing the same type of work. And you can put free ads up on the web, particularly things like Facebook and Craigslist. And I hope I don't get in trouble for mentioning those. But I found that is an inexpensive and quick way to get a hold of a lot of people at once. And once you get at least 3 people, the idea, Diana, as you know, is to meet regularly at the same place so the masters know that at that time and at that place they can count on a group that they can transmit these energies to and then out into the world.
Okay, so regularity is important.
That's correct.
And we know that from so many things, like proper eating schedules and exercise and all that kind of thing. But the fact of 3 people or more meeting up in one place that the masters can count on when the great invocation is intoned is important. I just want to say a couple more things about the great invocation. It was actually released to the world by the Lord Maitreya at the close of the Second World War. Mm-hmm. It's actually a very, very ancient invocation in a sacred language, but it was translated and made available so that people could just establish this channel between the overseeing spiritual group, the perfected masters, the masters of wisdom, and humanity. And there is a whole movement that has grown up about intoning the great invocation called the Triangles movement, and transmission is an offshoot of that. So let's talk a little bit about the Triangles, David, in case people want to pursue that.
Well, I think you know more about the Triangles movement than I do, but about the triangles themselves when you're doing meditation.
Okay.
The energy can pass through that type of formation more easily, and it's more potent, and the more people that do it, the more triangles are formed. Because, for instance, I guess if you have just 3 people, obviously you have 1 triangle. But if you add a 4th person and then a 5th and a 6th, the number of triangles start to multiply. My math isn't perfect on this, Diana, exponentially. And so that the amount of energy that the group, this is what we're getting at, can send out into the world increases exponentially. And the amount of good you can do for the world increases that much. So that's why each additional person is so important and so powerful.
That's right. And, start doing the math and you will see that the extra number of triangles from that 1 triangle with 3 people to 50 people, it goes up by hundreds and hundreds very quickly. So every person who joins in a transmission group helps potentize the reach of these energies that are pouring through. As I mentioned, this is an outgrowth of the Triangles movement that happened, I believe, sometime towards the end of the Second World War when the Great Invocation was released. I may be not quite right on that. I'm sure some of our more esoterically savvy people will let me know, but the Triangles movement is just that you can link up with 2 friends and promise that once a day, every day, you will think of those two other people and intone the great invocation, and that helps bring those energies of love and light and power into the world. If you go to Lucis Trust, that's Lucis Trust, they were the originators of this movement through Alice A. Bailey, who was a great exponent of the teachings of the Masters of Wisdom. Her books are absolutely phenomenal, as are those of the two other great speakers for the Masters, Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, towards the late 1800s, early 1900s, and the third person in this triangle, Benjamin Krem, the more recent exponent of these information. So those are three authors that you can look up as well. Again, they will be posted on our website. You can go check them out. And if you can't physically attend a transmission meditation once every week or once every month, whatever the regularity is that you determine, you can always make an agreement with two friends to recite the great invocation daily and bring power in the world that way. So, all of this is based on a desire to serve, which, as people evolve spiritually, just, quite naturally comes to the fore. Right, David?
Oh, yes, and thank you for mentioning that. Ben had said in one of his books that all the soul really knows is service. And that's what the whole universe runs on, service. And this is what you're doing when you do transmission meditation. And he'd called it, I think I may have said this before, a form of world service par excellence, which is most appropriate for the Aquarian age. And, I also neglected to mention, Diana, when we talk about instructions for meditation while we're doing it, that it's important to keep the mind alert, aware, and poised, as Ben put it, and this helps you maintain a positive mental focus. And why do I say that? Well, because when you do meditation, what happens sometimes? People fall asleep. So the best way to combat that is to not eat for, say, an hour before, or if you have to eat something light. And, of course, certainly no alcohol or drugs. But once you start, also to keep the mind in that state, alert and aware, focus at the Anjana center. And in this way, you will stay awake, because once you fall asleep, you're no longer transmitting.
Well, I do want to address that point of sleeping, because it invariably happens in all groups that somebody, and maybe the same person, regularly falls asleep and starts snoring during transmission. This happens in all the groups. And then it's okay to give them a little nudge to wake them up. But what happens is that, if people are physically very tired when they come to transmission, the energies coming through can basically just knock them out. So they go to sleep for, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. And then once their equilibrium is restored, they just come back in and do the meditation and everything's fine. But it does happen that people fall asleep, and it's kind of embarrassing when you do, but no problem with that. And also, if you need to take a rest break or a bathroom break or whatever, it's okay to leave the meditation and come back. All it is asked, though, is that when people do have to leave just to go, that they simply, get up and leave quietly and not disturb the rhythm of the meditation as it's going on for other people.
Yes, and something else occurred to me too, Diana. Some people may have a question, well, what's the difference between prayer and meditation?
Oh, good question.
Since we're talking about doing meditation, so I think I'll anticipate that question before it comes. And the description that was given in the book, Transmission Meditation, was that prayer was more an expression of supplication coming from the solar plexus and involving, of course, the heart too, and aspiration. Solar plexus, as we said before, being the seat of emotions and more astral in nature. And that is, of course, helpful. We know that prayer does actually have an effect. But the difference with the meditation is that the energies get lifted. It's sort of a higher expression. The solar plexus energies get lifted into the heart center, and it's sort of a, how do I put it? It's an invocation. You're calling out these energies from a higher spiritual source, and then it's the transmission of that energy to a lower source.
You know, being a linguist, I want to just mention this, that it's a difference between invocation and evocation.
Yes.
That with evocation, we evoke, we call in those powers that work through meditation. And, you know, David, somebody has just texted me some figures on the triangles. Remember we were talking about you can have so many more. Well, get this. If there are 6 people doing transmission instead of 3 for one triangle, the 6 people produce 20 triangles. If there are 15 people, which is, you know, pretty much the size of a regular transmission group, give or take, that is 455 energetic triangles.
That's from 50 people?
No, that's from 15. And if you get 20, it goes up exponentially again to over 1,000. So that is a lot of energy pouring through to be able to help us with world transformation at this time. And that is why transmission is so powerful and so useful. Back on the other side.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Did you know that Share International Radio is more than just a podcast? If you're hungry for thought-provoking views behind the news, there may be a Share International event happening soon near you, providing a spiritual perspective you'll find nowhere else. To locate an event in your area, visit shareontheairradio.org. That's shareontheairradio.org. shareontheairradio.org.
Hi, this is Julie Geigel.
I'm Maggie Chula.
And I'm Catherine Glass.
And we're the Psychic Angel Channelers. Join us every week here on OMTimes Radio for Angel Talk Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time.
The angels have heard your call and are here to help.
Are you ready to receive?
Remember your magnificence with Angel Talk Tuesday.
As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Have you bought into the idea that you have to work hard for your money, that business is hard? I will share some dynamic access consciousness tools to get you out of your own way so you can create a business that actually succeeds. Join me, Simone Millicers, on The Joy of Business at 4 p.m. Mondays Eastern.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hello and welcome back to our program on transmission, a meditation for the new age. This is Diana Gold Holland transmitting to you with David Mynott, a longtime meditator and my guest today. As we get started, I just want to bring up that if you're interested in trying out transmission meditation, you can do that quite easily by locating a group locally. And what you do to find out if there are any groups in your area is to go to the Share International website. That's share, SHARE-international.org. And also, this is in the States, United States, and there's also the transmissionmeditation.org. .org website. Is that .org or .net?
.org. You're correct.
It's .org? Okay, great. There you have everything you want to know about transmission and a link to find out about groups in your area. In Canada, where I am located, you can go to www.share-international.ca for Canada, and you can find referrals to Canadian groups through that website. And there are groups active throughout the world. If you're contacting from another country, we will definitely put you in touch with any local groups. And if there's not a local group, David, what do people do?
Well, if there's not a local group, you can still meditate remotely with a group that's nearby. Just find out when they meet and set yourself up, sit down, say the great invocation. You could have them on maybe on speakerphone if you're lucky, and then of course put it on mute and transmit away.
Well, the other thing too is you can form your own group.
Oh, of course, yes. How could I forget that?
Well, people don't necessarily think of this. All it takes to be able to participate directly in working with the Masters of Wisdom in Maitreya is 3 people meeting to do so. So you can, encourage a couple of your friends to do it, or just advertise in any way that you might do locally. And basically you get together, you sit down, you recite the great invocation, you put your attention at the Ajna Center, and that is it. It couldn't be simpler.
Yep. That's how I got started. I went to a lecture.
Mm-hmm.
I bought the books. I talked to the people at the booth. Went home, read them, called the friend back up, the new friend that I made through the group, and said, "Now what do I do?" He said, "Well, form your own TM group, transmission meditation group." I'm like, "What? Me?" But I did. And it's funny. I invited all my new agey type friends, who were like myself, to all come and sit down and meditate, and they all showed up. We did one session. I don't think one of them came back. The only people that came back were the new people who I never met before. Those are the people that lasted. So people will really surprise you when it comes to this sort of practice.
Well, the other thing is that people are drawn to it. It's a soul calling that has you do this. And let's make it perfectly clear to people. We're talking about energies coursing through your chakras and what have you. We're talking about working with the masters. Let us make it totally clear that transmission meditation is totally safe. No more energy is poured through your chakras than you can safely absorb and transmit. And not only is this totally safe as a practice, but it enhances any other spiritual practices you might have.
Yes, indeed. And it enhances your own ability to, well, I state the obvious, to meditate, but also in the other regions we talked about, to love, to be creative, to be poised and mentally and emotionally calm and balanced, and in the intuition as well.
Right. And let's just make a couple of other things clear. First of all, it's totally safe. And, this is not a goody two-shoes or religious type activity at all. If you happen to smoke or, whatever nasty little habits you might have, you don't have to give up, say, smoking, for example, to be able to transmit. What is required is the mental focus, and it has nothing to do with, any of your everyday activities. So,
and it might help them quit smoking.
Well, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Some of those changes you might want to make will seem easier as you grow in service work, quite simply. And
speaking of which, you remind me of something else, Diana, that Ben had mentioned, is this type of work, too, is really part of a long-term plan of the hierarchy, where the center of humanity is more linked up with the next kingdom, which is the masters.
The spiritual kingdom, absolutely.
Spiritual kingdom, exactly. Yeah. And so that this helps uplift all of humanity. I think we touched upon that briefly, but I wanted to mention too, which I think you had prompted me, but I didn't pick up on the cue, is that this helps out the rest of the world in ways that people might not ordinarily think of. For instance, groups that are negotiating. It might have helped out the Americans and the Europeans and the Iranians during the nuclear talks with Iran, and the masters would have directed that energy. Other countries that are, that are at each other's throats, that are trying to resolve the conflict, the energies coming through the masters, and then through you and out into the world, but not directed by you, could help out these countries and help out nature itself as it struggles to right itself amidst global warming and pollution and so on.
David, you've brought up two very important points here that I want to stress. One of them is that even though these energies are coming through us, and even though we might want to send them to somewhere where they think they could be useful, like during some of these high-level negotiations or whatnot, we're asked not to do that.
Yes, exactly.
The masters know exactly where to direct energy at any given time. And we might think, oh, it's horrible what's going on in the Middle East, but maybe energy needs to be withdrawn from that area at this particular time. So we don't want to be directing it to where we think it would be best used. The whole idea here is to be of service. We're a step-down transformer, just like a battery, like a plug in the wall, and it allows the masters to get this energy out where they want it to be.
Yes, because not only do we not know where it should go, we don't know what type of energy should go there.
And the masters do, so exactly right. And the other point I wanted to pick up on that you were mentioning, David, is creativity. Mm-hmm. The understanding is that as these energies pour through the chakras of the group, they then go into a reservoir for all of humanity, a pool, where all of humanity can drink from, as it were, and they stimulate. It might be political negotiations, but it might also be, some great medical breakthrough, or some great creative endeavor that that is going to uplift people, like some great movie or something like that.
Yes, artistry.
Artistry, exactly. So those energies are available and automatically available for people to draw upon and use for the greater good of all humanity. That's what's so fantastic about this. We work directly to the masters, we fill up this pool, and great strides are happening in the cultural world, the medical, whatever world we see things happening in.
Yes, and to take it back to both the group and the individual, it helps, as we have said before, and as all meditation does to some degree, help put the the personality and the brain closer in touch with one's own soul. And this will probably be a discussion for another long show, but helps groups themselves form a sort of group soul or group consciousness,
right,
so that the group is more effective.
Absolutely, and I just want to come back to this creativity idea that's so important, David, because last week my co-host Cielito Pascual did a great interview with Gina Blickenstaff, an American artist and painter. So I want to draw people's attention to the archives on OMTimes Radio. There are a number of shows that we have recorded since we started broadcasting in October of last year, and there's a wealth of information there and a wealth of topics covered. So you're welcome to, check out the archives on our site on OMTimes Radio. And, of course, our site is Share on the Air Radio, North America.
Exactly.
So,
and as an artist, I found it helped my creativity as well, just like Gina's. But you can't explain that to people when they say, "Oh, your work has really grown in the last few years. What are you doing?"
Oh, that's fantastic, David. You know what? Before we get cut off here, let me just give a couple of words about next week's program. It was originally going to air, I don't remember when, but there were technical difficulties. So our guest, Marcia Kimmel, will be on air with our producer, Frances Oman, and her show is about the skeptic's view of Maitreya and the Master's being in the world. Marcia has a Jewish background, and out of that she has evolved her own idea about the idea of the Messiah. And she relates the messianic concept in Judaism to the modern-day perspective of a thinking woman. She's a visionary artist and theater coach, and she's skeptical of a single person saving the world, which is, of course, not what it's all about, but she is aligned with Maitreya's call to humanity to create a transformed world together. I hear the music saying goodbye to us, David. I guess we're cut off.
It was wonderful, Diana. Thank you.
Okay, and let's invite people to visit the Facebook page or the website shareinternational.org, transmissionmeditation.org, for further details.